make sure you're using the instructions that were over in your unique control panel over on the right-hand side of the screen. Of course, if you're listening and you can hear me clearly, the audio pin really isn't necessary for this format. That's only when we're trying to do a more interactive live mic type program. Otherwise, we're going to be getting underway momentarily here, so bear with me a couple of seconds while we get the recording started, and then we'll be off and running. All right, folks. Well, hello and welcome again to the next installment of the Maximum Performance webinar series brought to you by Maximum Acceleration, the professionals mortgage company, coaching company. Guys, we've been doing this series since October of last year. We originally launched it as a method of and design bringing a community of learning together, top originators in their field really striving for excellence. And I think we've done a pretty good job of it from the feedback that we've been getting, so we're happy to bring to you the next installment in this webinar series. Just a quick reminder, this will be an interactive program, so you want to make sure that you're able to access the audio and that you're able to use the Q&A feature as we go through today's program. Also, today's program is being recorded, so you'll be able to grab ideas and follow up with those after the fact. Today's program is about powering up your purchase education. Our guest presenter today is Ms. Ginger Bell, who is not necessarily a stranger to this particular audience, but Ms. Ginger is an education specialist with Go-To Training, has designed and built training systems and curriculum on loan programs, compliance, how to follow anti-money laundering policies, has been doing CE and PE education for the better part of the last 12 to 15 years for the mortgage industry. She's a well-recognized education expert and has done an awesome job of creating some very powerful materials and resources that have helped hundreds of loan officers get in front of agents and produce business productively with the idea of being an education resource for those agents. So Ms. Ginger is recently signed on, by the way, as the Education and Compliance Specialist with Offutt Kerman Law Firm, which is a compliance consulting law firm out of Washington, D.C. And of course, we'll be transitioning to there, leaving Plaza Home Mortgage as the education director that Plaza has joined on. And boy, I know you're going to be leaving some big shoes to fill there, Ms. Ginger, in that respect. But today's program, Ginger's going to be walking us through how to really create an effective CE and education program, how to set up your own and get it approved so that you can get in front of literally hundreds of real estate agents a year by being an education resource provider. So with that, Ms. Ginger, I'm going to hand off to you, let you kind of take the program and run us through what you have to teach us today.
Okay, great. Well, thank you, Eric, and thank you for having me on. I know this was a topic that you and I often talk about, and that's the power of not only continuing education, but just education as a whole. So I'm going to let you go ahead and move us through the screens, which is a little different for me because I'm kind of used to doing that, do a lot of different webinars, but really it's about how you can build business with education. And of course, as we move into a purchase market, we know that it's very important for us to focus on standing out and what makes you the expert. So, and if you want to move ahead, Eric, we'll go ahead and go through
okay.
The next
by the way,
slide.
You should be able to advance on your own at this point, Ginger, but if you want to go ahead and give it a shot.
I can do that. Let's see. Oh, very good. Oh, you are super slick, aren't you?
And if you need help backing up, just let me know.
I'll make the backup sounds. Okay, so first of all, if you guys have questions, pop them in the question box as we go along. I'll kind of monitor them, and if I see that it's relating to a certain area we're at, cover into that, but we are limited on time. So if we can't get to all the questions, Eric can send out my contact information. I'm happy to give a call, kind of talk about what you want to do with it. But really the advantage of providing education is to make yourself stand out, to show that you're the expert, to be able to enhance those relationships, and then to also help you maybe with some of the areas where you're seeing some issues or some problems in some of those files that may be coming in, or the borrowers that you're getting, or the loan options that the realtors are presenting to customers, to be able to educate on that, and then obviously to help you build your business. And that's really something that we all need to focus on as we're moving into a purchase market. What are the things you can do to build those relationships? And so going into, there's obviously a variety of ways you can offer education. First of all, starting with live presentations. And, you know, Eric, we're starting to see a lot more live presentations that are happening, and people are starting to want to come and to learn in a live interactive way. You and I both teach continuing education courses, and you know, a few years back everyone's going on the online method, and now everyone's like, you know, I really don't want to do the online because I really don't learn as much, although it's good for time. So for some people it works out great, but really having that interaction makes a big difference. And so same side on the realtors side, to be able to offer that live education and let them, you know, learn from you face to face. So there's a variety of live presentations you can do. Obviously, you can do individual meetings, and I actually did kind of an informal survey a few months back as I was building some slide decks for education for realtors. Just finding out how many of you are doing group presentations, what kind of meetings are you doing, and you know, let me know what it is that you're doing, because we want to build the resources. And I actually found out that a lot of you really prefer doing the one-on-one meeting and as opposed to doing a lot of the group meetings, because then you can actually have some good conversation. And so there's definitely tools you can use to do that. But if you're getting into the live presentations and meetings, it's a great way for you to be able to get into real estate offices that maybe you haven't been able to get into in the past, to be able to, you know, position that as an expert. We're going to talk about how continuing education can help to leverage that. So there's group meetings. Obviously there's associations. I do a lot of speaking, a lot of work with associations, and believe wholeheartedly in working with them to be able to help them offer education through their members. And then obviously continuing education is another resource. We're going to get into those. If you don't want to do live presentations, or if you want to utilize another avenue for providing education, webinars are a great way to do it. You can do it live just like what we're doing now, or you can do them recorded. So it kind of depends on what you prefer to do. Okay, now Eric, I have to find the little arrow thing here. Do I have to find the arrow? I did it. I went too far.
All you have to do is click on the screen and you're good.
Just click on the screen. Okay, good to know.
Yep. Anywhere on the screen.
So let's talk about group meetings. What kind of group meetings you can do? Obviously going into a realtor's office and meeting with them. Financial planners are another great venue, and especially for continuing education. I was talking to Originator yesterday. We're talking about just this topic, continuing education, and about, you know, what areas you can get into that would be good partners, and then who needs continuing education. And so realtors, financial planners. If you want to do group meetings for first-time homeowners, that's a good opportunity for that. Obviously, you want to look at maybe doing those at a community center or in conjunction with someone else to be able to bring those individuals in. And then builders. We're seeing a lot of new construction that's going on. And so builders in many states also need continuing education as well. So something to consider there. Okay, I did it the wrong way though. This is challenging the presenter. Okay. Well, let's talk about setting up meetings. Okay, let's start out with, first of all, you obviously have to determine who your audience is. And then once you determine that, find out who the primary contact is. Give them a call. Let them know that you know, you have information to share. And I always believe it's best to, when you make that first phone call, and you guys know this because you're in sales, to talk in terms of their own best interest. So, you know, easing the burden of being able to find loan programs. And you may lead in with a particular loan program. Maybe if you're in a USDA area and you want to lead in with that and give some statistics saying that, you know, there's a certain percentage of USD loans that are available in the area. Often realtors are not able to find those homes, and that's because they don't know the resources, and you'd like to be able to come in and share those resources and help them to be able to not only sell more homes but also locate the homes that would qualify under this program. And again, lead in with that benefit, let them know why you want to be able to meet with them. Then next, set up the meeting, and then send the invite, make sure you're prepared, and then come in and present. So it's pretty simple as far as doing that. I apologize, guys. I need to get, when you get into autopilot, you kind of forget. Oh my gosh, Eric, you're going to have a good time with this. Eric's trying to help me here. Really, I am pretty proficient at this. I do a lot of webinars. I'm just not used to your Citrix here. Did we get it? No. Okay.
There you
now
go.
We got it. Okay, so let's talk about association education right now. First of all, how many of you, and just by typing in there, let me know, how many of you have actually done presentations with real estate associations or financial planner associations or any kind of builder associations? Okay, good. So I'm seeing some of you are doing that, so that's great. Perfect. And you're putting numbers in there. Okay, so this is an opportunity for you to be able to
Hey, Ginger, the audio dropped out on you. Check your microphone plug-in, if you wouldn't mind. It sounded like we had a wire glitch. Guys, hang tight for just a second. We're going to try and figure out exactly what's going on with Ginger's audio. I'm not sure exactly what changed with Ginger's audio quality. Ginger, tell you what, why don't you go ahead and try and dial in using the audio instructions that are on the right-hand side of your screen. Guys, some of the stuff that Ginger's talking about, I'm just going to jump in here until we have audio reconnected on audio or reconnected through the phone system so we're able to hear her audio loud and clear. What Ginger is beginning to share with you is just the basics of how to get this process set up and started. And so some of what she's talking about is how you can leverage all these different agencies and associations. The first part is finding an audience. How do you get in front of these folks? Well, for example, Realtors are all members of the National Association of Realtors as well as their local state association of Realtors as well as their local board of Realtors. And so each Realtor has CE credits that they have to achieve every single year. So there's an opportunity there to go ahead and get plugged in. Ginger, it sounds like you're getting hooked in by phone. Are you ready? Can we hear you loud and clear now?
Yeah, I'm not sure what happened. I apologize for that. Hopefully you all can hear me better.
Yeah, much better.
Okay, good.
Anyway, jump in and go ahead and continue on with your program, please.
Okay, great. So associations, we're starting to see that the Realtors are obviously wanting to have the information. So it's a good opportunity. Same kind of thing that we were talking about. Go and lead in with the benefit to them. Don't tell them about, what you want to do. Just lead in with the benefit that you're going to be able to provide them with information, especially as we're getting into the QM with things changing and down payment requirements and qualifying requirements. It's an opportunity for you to go in and be able to provide that information. Financial planners, same thing, as well as builders. So again, just getting into that on what you can do to be able to go in and provide them with that information. Okay, Eric, I'm going to really try to find this. I got it there? Okay. So let's talk about setting up meetings with the association. First of all, you want to determine the association, and I'd recommend, rather than going large and starting with, NAR, find your local association, and maybe even just not even a state association, but a chapter, because chapters are usually run on a smaller level, and it's an opportunity to connect with a smaller board and probably have less competition of people that are coming in there. And you might even want to talk to, if you have a real estate partner right now that you're working with, to be able to say, hey, what associations do you belong to? So determine the association, and then find out who the primary contact is. Sometimes they have an executive director, and that's a good place to start. But usually that person is not going to be a decision maker. So if you can find out, do they have an education share specifically? If they do, that's great, because that's usually who you want to talk to. If they don't, then find out who their president of the board is and call them. And again, start with the benefit to them, and then obviously set up the meeting. Create the invite for them. The easier you make it for them to promote you, the more likely that they will. So if you give them a topic, and when I'm contacting an association, I usually give them a list of topics. Here's the topics I can speak on. And that way they have a choice, because what you think is going to be hot for them may not be an area of interest. But if you do have something that's on the list, then they'll say, oh, okay, that sounds really good. That's what I'd like to have. And also, by giving them a list, it lets them know that you can speak on more than just one topic. So I would recommend doing that and then create the invite for them, obviously then prepare, and then go in and present the information to them. So let's talk about continuing education. We all know we have continuing education requirements as licensed mortgage loan originators through the NMLS, and that was something that passed in 2008 with the SAFE Act, so it's something we've become very familiar with. And prior to that, the continuing education was on a state level, so each state had different requirements for continuing education. I'm in Oregon. We had 10 hours here. You know, in California, depending on if you're licensed with the DRE or the DOC, you could have anywhere from 45 hours over a 4-year period to no requirements before the NMLS. So now we're all straight across the board with the exception of state requirements. In real estate and with financial planners and with builders, it's completely different. So each state has its own requirements. I can tell you most states, as far I think actually 50 states, I have a list that I've made, has continuing education requirements as part of the licensing requirements for all real estate professionals. So it's an opportunity for you to go in and to be able to offer the education and then also offer that added value of continuing education because it's something that they need. And I can tell you I've been doing continuing education in the mortgage industry for, gosh, about 12 years, I think. Erik, you're right. And I saw it as an opportunity years ago when I was a sales manager for a wholesale lender to be able to get our education approved with the state for continuing education and offer it each year at the annual convention because it gets you in front of the room. And face it, when you're in front of the room, it's so much better than having a booth at a trade show because now you're seen as the experts and people are going to come up and talk to you afterwards. So anytime you can do that and start positioning yourself to get in the front of the room, be the expert, is when you're going to be able to cement those relationships and get a lot more referrals from your partners. So let's talk about some of the challenges of continuing education. First of all, it has to be, continuing education always has to be on a topic that is a benefit to the consumer. And so just like with our 8 hours NMLS, it has to have, 3 hours of regs, has to have 2 hours of fair lending and ethics, and 2 hours of loan products, and then 1 hour is elective. For real estate, it's across the board. So most of them you have to have at least a fair housing. A lot of them have some legal requirements. And then most of them, the bulk of them, is consumer protection. So typically when you're looking at getting a course approved with the state, you're going to put it under the consumer protection. Now I can tell you, I actually did several years ago, a friend of mine who did a lot of training for social media when social media first came out, wanted to get his course approved for continuing education in California with the DRE. And typically, anything that has to deal with sales or marketing or anything that's going to build business is not a topic that would be approvable for continuing education. So for him, trying to get a course on how to use social media approved for continuing education was a pretty long stretch. But what we did is I actually went and researched, and we found through the Center of Disease Control that they were using social media to get the word out about the West Nile virus, which at the time was very big. And so we actually incorporated that into the course and showed how that could be able to be used, social media, blogging, Facebook, Twitter, could be used to protect consumers on fraudulent activities, laws to be aware of, just basically consumer protection. And so by us writing it into the course, we actually were able to have them read why we thought that it would be good, a benefit to the consumers. And so we actually have the only course that's approved for social media in the state of California. I don't know if Patrick's kept it up or not, but it's a way to spin it. So, but you have to meet those state requirements. It does take time to get approved, and typically you have to be approved as a school, or if you're working through the association, you can do that. There's certain rules and guidelines you have to follow regarding time constraints, and then you also must maintain those records. So there definitely are some challenges to the continuing education. However, I can tell you if you can get through those hurdles and it's something that you want to do, it can be a huge benefit, because then you're looking at the power of continuing education. And that is, most states require it. So your real estate agents are looking for it, and if they have to have their butt in a seat for education, why not be able to knock it off? I'm going to learn something, and I'm going to get some of my licensing hours as well. So you can really build that value of education along with the value of the continuing education. It also builds your expertise. Positions you not just as someone that's coming in and doing a presentation, but someone who has actually met the level of being approved by the state. And so it gives you that extra level. You also then can come in and do a partnership with different associations in being able to offer to add that continuing education, which again, that's what associations are looking for. I know on our side for associations, Erik, you're the president of the Missouri Association, we're always looking for what we can do for our members to bring value to them. The other thing is there's very few people that are going to take the time to offer this. So the competition of what you're getting into with this is pretty slim. You will stand out. And if that's what you're looking to do, then this is an opportunity for you to be able to do that. So how do you start the process? First of all, you want to start in your particular state and determine the state that you want to offer your continuing education in. If you're licensed in multiple states, I would suggest picking the state that you actually live in to get started, because to be able to do the live education, obviously, you're going to be traveling. So that's the best recommendation. Next, you want to find out what the state requirements are. And then starting with, if you have to become a course provider first, then you want to submit that process. And then you want to submit your course and then whatever requirements that you have along with that. So let's look at actually what that looks like. And I started with the state of Alabama. So, if any of you are in the state of Alabama, then you have an added benefit, because I know, Erik, you're going to send the slide deck out, I'm assuming, to everyone. I know we have a question on that, but typically you do that. And then I also have a resource guide to send out as well. So we've got some tools for you guys to get you started in some of this process. So let's look at Alabama. First of all, you're going to go to the Real Estate Commission, or whatever the regulatory body is for your particular state. And sometimes you have to look around a little bit in order to find the information. I always typically go to wherever it says education, because from there you're probably going to find the best resource. And so on here they have that. They have education resource. So you're going to start there. And then once we get to the Education Resource Center, the first step is to find out what you need to do to become an approved course provider, or what they call a school administrator. And so looking at this, we have several application options there. And so we're going to start off with school administrator application. And I actually wish they would put these in the order that they're supposed to go in, but they always tend to put them in alphabetical order instead of actually their steps. In my world, it would not be that way, in my CDO world. But check on the school administrator application, and then you want to read through that. So that's where you're going to actually start out. And you're going to determine what the requirements are, and you're going to complete the application. Typically, there is a cost associated with it. Usually, it's not a huge cost. Usually, it's like $100 to $200. And so once you do that, you want to also find out what the requirements are for instructors. So you want to see if there are additional requirements for your continuing education instructor. And for Alabama, there is, and so you want to make sure and fill out that application to be a continuing education instructor. And it looks like they have their application fees in there, and they're going down. Wow, that's really weird. So it's $50 between 2011 and 2012, and now it's gone down to $25. So hey, that's a deal. And so it goes through what you need to do, and then and so here it's telling you, once you've received your approval as a continuing education instructor, then you must go to the Real Estate Commission's website to submit your courses for approval. And so again, there's a process that they have in place, and you want to make sure and follow that. And so first they want you to get approved, then they want you to go and submit your courses. So step 3 is going to determine what the course application requirements are. So before you send in your course, you want to find out what are the course requirements within the state. Do they fit? What area do they fit in? And we talked about consumer protection before being one of the biggest areas that most states look at. So we find out what the submitting the course application information is, and then this is going to get into the law. So continuing education is typically something that is part of a law that has been passed, and so they're going to get into whatever the statute that is, and then what the curriculum must consist of. So here we're talking about subjects which are core real estate and which will assist the licensee in fulfilling the Commissioner's objective and protecting the public. And again, so just like what we deal with the CFPB, that's what they're doing here. So on the application, you must show how the consumer and client will benefit from the licensee taking this course. So they really want to know how it's going to benefit the consumer. You are not showing how a licensee will benefit. I don't know why they have that there. Your course outline, objectives, and strategies should be written with the benefit to the customer or client in mind. So really that's what they want to see in writing all of that. And then it gets into laws, what the fee is, what the content outline, and this is important. So you want to make sure you have your content outline with your time segments. And they're allowing 10-minute breaks for every 50 minutes of course time, and that's pretty standard. And then they want to know the course objective, and then what your strategies are. So they want to know what you're going to do in class, whether it's going to be lecture, whether you're going to have case studies, question and answers, PowerPoints, things like that. So they want some detail on it, and they may actually be having somebody review it. A lot of states don't actually review content, but you know, some do. And actually this is really good because they say 3 days after submitting the course you can log in and find out if it's been approved. Boy, I wish it was that fast for the NMLS. And then courses must be taught under an approved school. So again, why we started into that process to begin with, become a approved school, then become an instructor, and then get your course approved. Step 4 is determine what the course requirements are. So they've given us an idea as far as what you need to submit, but what topic do we want to look into submitting in what area? So right here it's telling us, and when we click on what those requirements are, that there is 9 clock hours in commission-approved courses. So they're starting with their continuing education. So every 2 years, every real estate agent in Alabama has to complete 15 hours of what they call clock hours of continuing education. They must be completed by September 30th of every even year. So you know what? You guys in Alabama have a calendar opportunity here. So just like our NMLS renewal, it's a one-time renewal of every even year, which is a nightmare. I don't know why any state ever does it that way. But it's a great opportunity for you to come in, and we are in an odd year, so it gives you an opportunity to prepare for this for next year, to be able to start leading into that. So they have 3 hours in risk management, not an area you want to get into. They have 3 hours in risk management of level 2, so you don't want to get into that. But you can get into what's this, 9 clock hours in commission-approved courses. So basically they're saying if your course is approved, then you're good to go. So they don't have any particular topic. Some states have fair housing, some states have other requirements, so something to look at. You might also want to check with your local association to find out if they are already approved. I know in the state of Oregon, we passed a law a couple years ago that if an association signs up with the state to be an education provider, that basically any course that we say is approved, and they're good to go. So we signed up the Oregon Association of Mortgage Professionals to be a course provider, and so we actually, as an association, can provide education to realtors. So it's just something to check with your association to find out if that exists or if they are already approved. If so, you might be able to just go in under their approval and be an instructor. And again, remember, you're building that value. You are an expert from within the mortgage industry, and you have information to be able to help their members. And trust me, it really does build that value to be able to come in and do that. Okay, now I need to find my arrow again. There it is. So how do you go about locating continuing education requirements? Google is your friend. And honestly, how I found for Alabama was to go into Google, put continuing education, Alabama Realtors, or Alabama Real Estate, or and you kind of have to go through a few of them because obviously you have your advertisement here of your course providers. But down here you can see that this has the commissioner, and that's really what you're looking for is the real estate commission. And so once you found that, then you can be able to go onto that site, and that's really what you want there. Okay, let's talk about RESPA. Is providing free education, continuing education, a RESPA violation? And so many companies, especially title companies, offer continuing education, and this is something that we constantly see within the education industry. And so basically, if a sponsor or course provider, and this is just from RESPA, and I'll give you a point on NARS too, opinion on this, offers the course at no charge to the real estate licensee, both the sponsor and the real estate licensees who attend these classes are violating RESPA. So let's look into this a little bit further. Section 8. Section 8 of RESPA prohibits settlement service providers from receiving kickbacks, unearned fees, or a thing of value. And it's that term that is considered a thing of value that can get you into trouble for providing continuing education for free. Now, you can go in, you can teach all day long about products, you can teach all day long about programs, about marketing, whatever you want. But when you attach the continuing education to it, it is considered a thing of value. Why? Because they are required to complete it just the same way as you are required to complete it. Now, you can conduct your business however you wish to conduct your business, but it would be an error on my part not to provide you with the information that can keep you compliant. NAR's opinion on this is of the same, and so it talks about expenses, it talks about affiliation, but basically the bottom line is this, and I outlined it in red. Sponsorship of continuing education is more likely to be a violation because members normally have to pay a fee to attend such programs. So if the cost of the course is underwritten by the affiliate, so the agents need not pay the fees that they otherwise would have to pay, such sponsorship could be interpreted as a thing of value and received by the agent for RESPA purposes. And remember, according to RESPA, it's a matter of receiving a thing of value. So how do you make sure that you're compliant? Well, there's a couple of things you can do. And one of the things I recommend is to do it with a lunch and learn, and have a cost associated with it. It could be $10. The other thing you could do is you can hold the education and charge for a certificate, because that would be the thing of value. So if they just want to come and get the information, then they can do that. But if they want to be able to receive credit for it, then you charge for that. Now, I know, because I always hear from it, well, not everybody's doing that. I understand not everybody's doing that. But I can tell you, in this day and age, you want to make sure you're doing things the right way. And so I tell you this to make sure that you are protecting yourself. Now, when you're working with an association and say they are doing a conference, and I often do this where there's a conference and it's all bundled in together, so they're paying for that conference. And so that's something that, again, you can bring value to the association and say, hey, I'm going to come in and teach a continuing education for you, for the association. I'm not going to charge you for it, get my services for free. And then they can bundle it in. And a lot of times what happens with that is then they'll throw in a booth for you, or they'll put an ad in for you, because they really do, first of all, see that as value because you're saving them money, that they don't have to hire somebody to do that, and you're providing them with education. So just a couple of little things to be able to keep you out of hot water, which is important. So again, charge for your course, work with a local association, and position yourself as the expert. So it's an opportunity for you to be able to do that and make sure that you're not violating anything. So let's talk about webinars. Now webinars, a couple of different options. GoToWebinar, which is what we're using today. There's also an automated webinar system that I've started using recently that's called Evergreen Business System. And I absolutely love it because it provides a great resource for automated webinars. Now if you're doing webinars, you're not going to probably be able to offer continuing education credit on it. You want to check with your state because most states require either it's an online that's a time-based and trackable, or it's something that's live that you can actually see them face-to-face. If you're not familiar with GoToWebinar, it's a great tool. I absolutely love it because you can do it on the fly. You can have as few as a couple people on it. You can have as many as thousands, but here's the cost for it. So I think the lowest one that they have is like 99 bucks a month, which used to be 99 bucks a month and you got 1,000. Well, now they've gotten smart and bumped it down. But the next system that I like to use for webinars is a system for automated webinars. And so basically what it does, it allows you to do a webinar one time, and you can even just do a recording. So like if Eric and I wanted to do this and get it really live and not see Ginger blundering through trying to change the screens, we could edit that out and put it into this system, and it makes it look like a live webinar. So it actually has where they're going to go in, they're going to reserve their spot for the webinar. You can pick your dates. You can have it on Monday and Wednesday. They can pick their time frame. If they want, you can actually have it set up to where they can watch yesterday's webinar, which is the same recording of every other day. It's just they think it was from yesterday. So I absolutely love this system because it really helps to augment what you're doing for any training right now and allows you to free up some of your time where you're not doing webinars all the time. And if you're someone that really starts getting into this, like me, and I do a ton of webinars, it's an opportunity for you to really free up a lot of time. So they get emailed a link and follow up, same way that they normally do. And so if they register for it next Wednesday, they're going to get the email link and follow up the same way that they normally would on GoToWebinars. Attendees can still type in questions, and then the questions can be emailed to you so you can actually respond during the webinar. So basically the recording plays, and then you can just sit in there and the emails come in and you can answer them back, or you can actually wait till after excuse me, the webinar is over, and then the system will email you all the questions, and then you can actually email them out. So the system is called Evergreen Business System, and I'm going to be sending you a resource document that has a link to this in there, and so you can just click on the link. But the cost is incredibly low. So for their automated webinars, it's $497. So it's less than 500 bucks, which is basically 5 months on GoToWebinar. And it's a one-time fee, and I've had it for a couple years. I can tell you it does take a little bit to learn it, and so if you want some help on it, I have a resource that does a really good job for me on it. You can also add the live webinars. You can put the two of them together, and you can select your webinar capacity. It has unlimited number of webinars. It has unlimited webinar hosting, so you can combine the two of them together, and it's the $497 one time, and then it's $69 a month as opposed to the $99 a month. And then you can just select whatever you want as far as your webinar capacity. And the nice thing with this, too, it has a lot of information to be able to go through for training. So, and it does a little comparison here, but I found a coupon code that's called half off. So if you want to use that, and then I have a link on the resource document that Eric's going to be sending out to you, then you can actually get it for half off of that. So it's called Evergreen Business System. If you need help getting started, shoot me an email, and I have a resource that can help get everything in there and can take your videos and edit them out and then be able to load them in there for you and set everything up. He charges 25 bucks an hour. He'll edit everything. He'll create the automated webinar for you, and it's way easier than figuring it out, because I can tell you it took me a long time to figure it out. So I'm going to quickly go into developing your presentation, and then we are going to move over to questions. So When you are developing your content, there's a couple of things you want to look for, and that's first of all, prepare your outline and check. Make sure your topic is clearly stated. Make sure it's understandable and relevant. Make sure that you have your key points that are included. Make sure that the way you write it is sequential. Make sure that the sequence is logical, so it's going to put them through a flow. So if you're going to show them the loan process, and I've actually had several originators that have asked for training for realtors on that, which is interesting because you wouldn't think they'd want to know that, but they are wanting to know more about our industry. So make sure that it's logical. And then also make sure your time frame is realistic. Make sure you're going to be able to cover everything in the time that you have and that you're not going to be shortchanged. And sometimes you have to move around a little bit on that if people have different questions. Also consider who your audience is, why you're doing that. Who's your subject matter? Are you bringing somebody else in for a subject matter expert? What's your duration that you're going to be doing this? Are you going to do a series? What venue are going to be going through? And then obviously remember to practice. Make sure you take the time and practice, practice, practice. So have a clear purpose in mind. And again, if you check with some of your real estate agents, find out what are their questions about the industry. Make sure that your presentation is responding to something. And if you have a list of topics that you can offer to them, that can give them some of those choices. Maybe you're going to present both sides of an issue. Maybe you're going to explain how something is done. Maybe you're going to describe something. Whatever it is, make sure you have a purpose in what it is that you're presenting as you're building your presentation. And really consider your audience. Who are there? Who are they? Why are they attending? What ideas might be of interest for them, specifically within the mortgage industry? And what knowledge do they have? You might be talking to new real estate agents. We're starting to see new originators coming into our industry, which we desperately need. And so what's the knowledge base? Are you using the appropriate terminology? We have a ton of acronyms in our industry, so if you go into a realtor with a lot of our acronyms, they're not going to understand it. So make sure that you speak in a language that they can understand. And what attitudes will they have to the topic? I often speak on compliance, and specifically when we were going through the GFE changes and the LO comp changes, and now we're dealing with fair lending and what you need to do with CFPB compliant. I get shot at all the time. I'm completely used to it. It doesn't bother me. But you want to make sure that you're prepared for that and to do it in a friendly way. We always say friendly fire. And then also, based on what your audience needs, what information do you need to present it? And make sure that you have the information that's going to keep their interest involved. Make sure that they're involved. And what time constraints do you have? Do you need to have some things for them to fill out? Do you need to have some group studies? Erik and I teach 8 hours of continuing education, which can be a mind blow if you don't have some breaks and some activities for them to do. So make sure that you do that. And then have you allowed time for your audience to be involved, to ask questions? And then watch your audience. Sometimes, especially when we're doing live presentations, you'll get somebody that starts going off on a tangent with particular questions or war stories. So make sure that you are the one that is involved as far as staying in control. If you're doing facilitation, which is a great thing to do, to be able to do some small groups, make sure that you're explaining things. So if you're going in and you're talking about, maybe you're doing a breakout session on opportunities within the market, and you have 4 different topics and they break into roundtables. Make sure you have instructions on how to do that. And by the way, this is a very effective tool to be able to really get people interacting and to really stand out. When you're doing this, you always want to stand back, observe, listen, watch what they're doing, and make sure that leaders within those groups emerge naturally, and then those who can take notes. This is roundtable discussions is a great way to be able to stand out, and something you can actually put into with your continuing education as well. Okay, so let's talk about takeaways. First of all, determine what your education will be. What's your delivery method, whether it's live, whether it's webinar, what you need to do to develop the materials, what you need to do as far as getting approved for continuing education. So Erik, do we want to take some questions here?
Yeah, let's go ahead. Actually, there's a couple of that have been posted already, and as we're going through this part of the discussion, guys, if you want to go ahead and continue to post anything that's come up or that you've thought about. One of the first questions was a question from Ginger, earlier in the program when you were talking a little bit about getting yourself approved as an affiliated education school, the question is, do you have to be affiliated with the school, or can you register your humble self as the school and as the course provider?
So it depends on the state. Some states have a requirement that you be an accredited school. Some states, they're fine with you just being a school on your own. The other thing to consider is if you're going to get approved as a school on your own, to make sure, obviously, if you're with a company or broker or banker, to let them know what you're doing and have them sign off on it. And it may even be that you just want to start a separate entity so that it's separate from your business. So those are the choices that you have. Some states will allow you to just go in and be an instructor. You don't have to be an accredited school. So it really depends on the state.
Right. So the state real estate commission or real estate licensing board or state, whatever division of state government regulates the realtor licensing usually is the state association that manages the CE course approvers. Like Ginger was showing you earlier in the program about the state of Alabama, it's just for an example. Okay,
right. It's the commissioner. Yeah, the commissioner that has that authority. They're the regulatory authority, just like the CFPB is our regulatory authority, but the NMLS is actually the one that has oversight as far as approving the courses and the registration and everything. When the SAFE Act was passed, it was actually given to HUD to have oversight on it. HUD passed it on to the CFPB. The CFPB has the NMLS, and the NMLS actually was developed out of two associations, the CSBS, which is the Conference State Bank Supervisors, and ARMOR, which is the American Association of Residential Mortgage Regulators. How's that for acronyms?
Yeah, talk about more alphabet soup, right?
Exactly.
Okay, so second question is, Mr. Mike Westmeister, I know from Texas, had the question of can you charge, say, $10 for the class, but then have your company sponsor the lunch when we're talking about what's RESPA compliant and what's not RESPA compliant.
Yeah. Here's the thing. There's not, I mean, as far as RESPA, there's not a dollar amount per se that says, okay, you have to charge this amount. The main thing is just charging something. So yeah, if you want to do that and charge $10 for the class and have the company sponsor lunch, that's fine. As long as you're doing something to make sure that you're not, violating RESPA.
Absolutely. And my caveat to that, guys, is, survey, I mean, if you want to be uber compliant, survey the, look up some different course providers in your area that are already providing CE to realtors. Another great way to find out information about what kind of courses are being provided and where there might be a gap in knowledge or something that's being left out of your existing board of realtors is, sign up to be join. If you go to your local Board of Realtors website, more often than not, they have a join our mailing list thing right there on their website. Sign up to get on the local Board of Realtors mailing list, and you'll see what kind of CE classes are being promoted to the realtors in your community, or CPAs, financial planners, or whatever. And so that'll give you some guidance on topic area that you could potentially select as well. Because if there's a number of providers giving like economic update and RESPA compliance and fair lending and risk mitigation, contract law, but you don't see anybody doing mortgage 101 or navigating the lending process or any of that kind of stuff, that's an area of content that you as an originator could definitely provide to somebody, which is another great way of filtering it. Okay, one other quick question. Let's see, do you know what California requires? Do you have to be part of a school in the state of California?
So California is under it used to be the DRE, it's now the Bureau of Real Estate. And yes, you do need to be a school. But I can tell you it's not that hard. I actually, several years ago, helped Todd Duncan and I think who all we had, Mortgage Success Source, ran continuing education. Gosh, probably 4 or 5 years ago. And so we got Mortgage Success Source approved as a course provider and then got all their courses approved. So, and that's probably one of the states that I work in the most, Ed, as far as getting courses approved for continuing education. I can tell you it's a pretty long time span. They're at about 90 days out. But that's definitely very worth looking into if you're in California, because you will stand out, and they desperately, desperately need education. If you're in California, shoot me an email, and I'm happy to provide you with some tools and resources there as well. And Eric, you can put up my email address if you want.
Yeah, I'm trying to find the slide where you had it on. I think.
Okay.
Well, anyway.
Yeah, I'll just say it. So it's Ginger@Go. Yeah, we can type it in there too. And actually, if you want to type it in there, I'm going to actually answer Patty's question, because she talks about what topics do you think realtors would be interested in. Right now, we're finding realtors are interested in products that are going to sell homes. So along the line of, obviously, with FHA kind of going in the direction that it is, they want to know more about MI for one thing. So, that may or may be something you want to do. But, what products? 203K, FHA, the VA, energy efficient mortgages, Good Neighbor Next Door. Those are a lot of the topics right now that they're most specifically interested in. And it's a high level, so you're not going to get into the, back and forth as far as what they need to do to get a file through. But you do need to be able to, go through, obviously, what it is that can help for qualifying. There you go. Oh, yeah, so that's info@GoToTraining. That one works too. Okay, so we're getting a lot of questions, and what we'll do is, Eric, we're running out of time, so I want to make sure that we get to the rest of the information. And then if you can send over the questions to me, then I can be able to do that. And you guys are asking, do you have resources that can help you develop content? We actually, Eric asked if I would put together an introductory package for you. And so I have done that. It's a CE resource kit, and basically it includes a 2-hour course. And this course actually is a course that has stood the test of time of being approved for continuing education through a couple of different states. And it's on maintaining momentum in the changing mortgage market. So it includes information. And again, it's a high level. So you're going to talk about VA, FHA, 203K, Good Neighbor Next Door, energy efficient mortgage. It's a 2-hour class. So again, it's very high level, but it provides them with an oversight as far as what they can use in these particular products to be able to, help some of their customers. And, they have to stand out too. So for them to be able to speak intelligently about something and, talk to a veteran and say, oh, yeah, we need to talk about your entitlement. Or if you're looking at a home that's a really ugly home, say, guess what? Then, the 203K is a great program for that. Or maybe they're talking to a teacher, so they could say, hey, there's a program available called the Good Neighbor Next Door, and allows you to be able to actually get rid of half of the amount of your loan if you live there for 3 years. So again, it just provides them with that credibility. And then the resource kit I made, basically what I've done is I've took everything I've done over the years and given you the checklist, the sign-in sheets, evaluations, follow-up emails, and delivery methods into one simple resource kit. And so Eric has made that available. I don't know how you're going to push that out, Eric, but in your magic you can do that.
In just a second here. Long story short, folks, what Ginger has done is literally the hundreds of hours of development work of putting this course material together for you. I mean, if you looked at, trust me, our state association here in Missouri looked at what it would cost us to create our own course material, and having written some CE courses myself personally, I can tell you that you're talking about 10 to 15 hours, sometimes even longer than that, preparation for every 15 to 20 minutes of, for every hour of training material. So tens of hours of material are developed into this course that Ginger has put together for you. And because she's a very prolific course writer, this resource kit, normally if you were to hire out somebody to create a 2 to 3 hour course, you're going to be looking at, we sourced it out to about 5 different companies potentially last year for our 8-hour CE course. And we were looking at a cost of somewhere in the neighborhood of $1,500 to $2,000 credit hour of CE quality training material. So for an 8-hour CE course, we were looking at quotes in the $14,000 to $18,000 range. For 1 hour of CE or 2 hours of CE like Ginger is offering you here, normally we'd be talking about somewhere in the neighborhood of about $2,000 in development material or time. What Ginger has offered is that resource kit, along with all the tips, tools, and tricks that you need to how to put together the workbook, the teacher's, the instructor's guide, all of the talking points and notes, and having taught Ginger's material personally, I can tell you that her curriculum materials are extremely easy to follow and teach. Even if you weren't the course writer, I mean, you could literally read verbatim off the notes that are in the notes pages of PowerPoint, and you do a great job as a CE provider, especially also if you're talking about topics that we already have some knowledge about, like basic loan programs that you guys deal in every day. I mean, this is not rocket science stuff. And remember that realtors are just hungry for the information that gives them the basic talking points. What we're doing with this is we were a little behind production schedule on trying to get a website and shopping cart set up, so we figured the easiest way to do this for all of you, if you are interested in accessing this course, you're going to be looking at for a limited time through the, we're going to give you a week, so through midnight of next Tuesday, if you go ahead and fax in your order, Ginger is going to allow you to acquire the 2-hour CE package, the Getting Started resource guide, and everything that she's talked about providing here at a cost of only $249. What would literally be, 15, 20, 30 hours of your own time and effort to create a course with agenda and curriculum and everything that's basically ready for you to submit to the state for licensing and approval so that you can get set up to do the CE for your local board of realtors or your state association if you want to operate it at that level. And so, guys, this is an incredibly powerful resource material and a very cost-effective opportunity. If you look at what the ROI on that would look like, I mean, if you got in front of 40 or 50 agents over the next 12 months and only 1 or 2 of them sent you a deal every 6 months, what does your commission look like in comparison? I mean, if you're talking the average loan officer commissions of about $2,000 a deal, one course and a couple of hours of effort is putting you in front of 40, 50, 80, 100 agents a year as these programs are pushed out. And by the way, these things often can be evergreen. You don't have to completely reinvent the wheel. This is a course you could teach time and time and time again for agents, because there's thousands of agents potentially in your market. Not all 1,000 of them are going to go through it the first year. So, 40, 50, 100 go through it this year, 100 more next year, 100 more the year after that, and you could be teaching this. I mean, I have a client in Maryland who does CE for realtors all the time using his own materials that he spent hundreds of hours preparing and developing, and it's the foundation of his business. I mean, he and his team are doing 15, 18 loans a month just based off the referrals they get from the agents that he's been doing CE with. Anyway, so it's a highly profitable, highly productive way of getting yourself in front of more of this information. Of course, for those of you who'd like more information about some of the advanced resources that Ginger also mentioned in today's program, you're welcome to reach out to Ginger directly. Of course, in today's program, we're also running a little bit over time, but I wanted to thank Ginger for sharing this information with us. There are just a couple of quick notes that I also wanted to share with everybody. By the way, so I guess I should back up and say, long story short, if you're interested in taking advantage of this packet, be watching for the order form that will be coming along with the follow-up materials for today's program. So when we send out the email that has a copy of the slide deck from today's presentation, as well as the free Getting Started resource kit that Ginger is talking about, along with that will be the order form on a PDF that all you have to do is fill it out, fax it in, and we'll get this material delivered to you efficiently. Beyond that, really, guys, what it is about creating accountability for yourselves, taking action, being the accountability partner for the business development partners, your real estate agents, your financial planners, and your CPAs that are out there. Because at the end of the day, it's about implementing is the key to results. There's a research study done by the University of Brigham Young in 1998 that talked about implementation. What they basically found out is if you really want to make change happen, what you need to do is tell somebody what your plans are with a specific time frame to complete, and then share that progress with someone else and ask them to hold you accountable. When you do that for yourself or when you do that for your business development partners, you have a 95% chance to follow through. So the last thing I want to challenge you guys to do today, I'm going to share with you some strategies to make sure that you're doing some things with what we're talking about today. And if you're interested, by the way, in finding out more about the coaching process and how Maximum Acceleration can be that accountability resource for you, the best way to check it out is this Thursday we're starting a new Maximum Acceleration experience, which is an opportunity to find out in great detail what the one-on-one coaching program includes, find out a little bit more about our group coaching programs. You'll actually get to witness and experience a live problem-solving coaching event live in real time during the course of that webinar Thursday, and then we'll also have some opportunity to answer some questions about the program and what it involves and what investment is required. So that will be coming up Thursday at 11 o'clock Central. Go to mxlcoach.com/webinars to find out more information about that. Of course, also as part of the program, Ms. Ginger Bell is going to be joining me and the rest of the coaching team, along with a panel of experts who are really knocking it out of the park with purchase production. We're going to be focusing our program at NAM National on how to power up your purchase business for 2014. What we're walking you through on the last day from 1:30 to 5:30 on Monday the 21st, which is the last day of the NAM National Conference, we're going to be taking you through a implementation and success planning workshop we call our Maximum Growth Summit. So we'll be helping you build your action plan for all of 2014. You're going to take all the great ideas that you're going to hear from speakers like Ginger and Greg Frost and Renee Rodriguez and Lawrence Young, the Chief Economist for the National Association of Realtors, and the great panel of experts that we'll be previewing. And by the way, tomorrow another sneak peek into what we're going to be offering. By the way, if you want to come out to the conference, there are still a handful of tickets left. They are at full price now at $295, but the amount of information that you're going to get in those power-packed couple of days and the follow-through success plan that we're going to help you build that last couple of hours of the program on Monday night is going to be more than worth it. I mean, you're going to get at least a 5 times ROI on that $297 that you'll invest to go out to that conference. If you want to join us at NAM National and join Ginger as well at that program, she will be joining our panel of experts that will be talking about how to power up your purchase success for 2014 and building your action plan. In addition to that, we've got a webinar coming up tomorrow that will also give you a sneak peek into some of the tools and resources that you're going to get. Top originators, the clients of ours, Manny Gomes and Randall Brower, are going to be sharing with you strategies for how they are powering up their purchase business and creating more than 50% year-over-year growth despite the interest rate cycles that have taken place for the last couple of years. That webinar is going to be tomorrow at 11 o'clock Central Time, and do the time distraction for your different time zone, but 11 o'clock Central, 12 Eastern, 9 Pacific. If you want to sign up for that program, join us for another free webinar tomorrow. Find out more about the NAM National and get a sneak peek into what is going to be going on at the live conference out in Vegas, October 19th through the 21st. Otherwise, the last thing I want to share with you is you guys have taken the time and invested in yourselves by contributing and by committing to taking the time out to go through the program that Ginger has been so gracious to share with you today. But the reality is ideas are worthless if they're not acted on. So what I want to encourage you to do is before you pick up your next phone call, before you look at your next email, take 5 minutes for yourself to lock in an action plan for what you've heard in today's program. So step 1 is decide what was the most valuable thing you heard in this program. Pick one idea. You can go back and get the other 20 later. Just pick the one that you want to start with first. The second is decide what is the next action you need to take to make that a part of your daily business on a regular basis. So maybe that is going ahead and filling out the order form and sending it in to get a copy of the already pre-approved, the already ready-to-go CE class that Ginger is offering you all as a starter for getting in front of these agents with that course material program that she's been so gracious to offer at such a healthy discount. And getting that and absorbing that and then starting to get your your paperwork submitted to become a course provider, or finding a course provider that you could team up with in your state to be able to get in front of agents. Long story short, decide what is the action you need to take to make that a part of your business on a daily basis. Second thing is, our third step is decide a specific time frame for completion. By when are you going to take action on that idea? And then fourth is the magic secret, like we talked about in the Brigham Young study, 95% chance or better that you're going to follow through. Find somebody to hold you accountable. Tell them what you're planning to do and ask them to follow up with you by a specific date and time in connection with your target date. You follow those 4 simple steps to get results out of the ideas that you've been exposed to today. Remember, ideas without action are worthless. The action is what creates the results. So, of course, if there's anything myself or the rest of the team here at Maximum Acceleration can do to encourage you, to support you, and help you follow through if you're looking for an accountability partner, one of the best ways to understand the value of coaching is to experience it. So join us next Thursday or later this week as we go through the Maximum Acceleration experience, and we'll be happy to show you a little bit more about it. If you're pretty serious about it and you are really looking to talk to a coach and get more information about the Maximum Acceleration program, and you're pretty serious about taking your business to the next level, we do also offer a one-on-one strategy session. There's only a handful of them available each week because we have limited calendars to work with here, but you will receive a live one-on-one coaching program from a coach talking you through how to take your business to the next level. If you'd like to take advantage of one of those strategy sessions, all you simply need to do is post in the Q&A that you're interested in one of those sessions, a strategy session, and that you would like to be able to receive that, and then post the best email address and phone number for our team to reach out to you and schedule that appointment. If you are serious about investing in your business and ready to take it to the next level, and you want the help, guidance, and support of a coach who's going to hold you accountable and help you follow through and take action on the ideas that you're exposed to, then we'd love the opportunity to talk with you about that in more depth. Otherwise, guys, we thank you and applaud you for taking the time out of your day, and investing in the future growth of your business. We are also very gracious and very blessed to have Ms. Ginger Bell participate in today's program, and I very much look forward to seeing you at future events, Ginger. And actually, I'm going to open it up to you if there's anything else that you wanted to go ahead and share with our group today. If there's any additional comments you'd like to follow through on, Ginger, I'm going to turn it back over to you for just a few more seconds here.
Great. Thanks, Eric. So lots of good questions, you guys, and feel free to shoot me an email. I don't personally work to get your school approved. I used to do that, but unfortunately my time constraints are limited, but I have put in the resource guide a list to every state that I could find, and I think I got all 50 of them, and what the requirements are. So it'll give you a list there. I don't have links to each state, but that's a pretty easy thing to find. And then one of the questions in the guide, I have guidelines in there. So we had a question about, does it include policies and procedures? And that's kind of a term we use in our industry. They're looking more for guidance. So guidance as far as what you need to do for attendance, for test taking, for all those things. That's all included in the guide. And I have gotten courses approved for real estate, for attorneys, and obviously for the mortgage industry, in several different states. In the real estate industry, probably a good, 15 different states. So if you run into an issue, shoot me an email. I can, give you some guidance as far as it. But unfortunately, I just do not have the bandwidth to help you get approved as a course provider. But I've definitely put all those resources together for you to help you through that process, and then shoot me an email. I'm happy to get you directed. It's worth your time. It takes time. I mean, it's definitely something you have to love educating. Like Eric and I do, you really have to want to do this. But when you do it, it really does make you stand out. So Eric, thank you, and I look forward to seeing you all at NAM National. I'll have a CFPB session there. And I'm bringing in Bart Shapiro, who was HUD's RESPA attorney, who I get to now work with at Offutt Kerman, so I'm excited about that. And so shoot me an email, and we'll get together and have fun. So thanks, Eric.
Definitely, definitely. Well, and like I said, Ginger's going to be sharing more of the strategies in more detail about how to actually follow through and create a complete action plan for this project and this type of an idea. And that's kind of what that Maximum Growth Summit is really all about. So I would encourage you to make every attempt to get out to the NAM National program. It's going to be your next best opportunity for the next year to be able to get high-quality training from experts like Ginger, and not just the surface scratch, here's an idea, go run with it type of stuff, but really the nitty-gritty runway-level detail of what you need to do to implement and build a success strategy. And that's what we're going to be working with folks on Monday evening. Through Monday meeting. I know it's not ideal scheduling-wise. A lot of people are thinking they want to get home early. The flight's maybe a little bit later to get out Monday night. It is definitely going to be so worth it that you're going to make sure you stick around Monday night. Of course, after the event's over, we'll all be hanging around networking for a little while because our team's not flying out till Tuesday morning. I don't know what your schedule is, Ginger, but I'll tell you what, it's every bit going to be worth it to stay that extra half day, fly out Tuesday morning so that you can make sure that you're able to stay for the full breadth of the program, because we're going to be covering some very powerful concepts and ideas, making sure that you walk away with a plan that you'll be able to implement step by step through the course of 2014. Otherwise, guys, again, I want to applaud all of you for being one percenters who truly invest in yourselves and have taken it to the next level. I remember it's all about implementation, and so anything my team or I or the rest of the faculty can do to help or support you in what you're doing, growing your business, please do not hesitate to reach out to us and ask. At this point, I'm going to leave the webinar platform open for just a few more minutes. If you have any additional questions that you would like to post for Ginger or the rest of the team at Maximum Acceleration, feel free to go ahead and post those. Also, if one last quick reminder, if you are interested in receiving a no-cost, no-obligation strategy session with a coach, if you are really serious about finding out about taking your business to the next level and what coaching would work like for you, go ahead and just post that you'd like a strategy session. Let us know the best email address and phone number to reach you for scheduling that appointment, and we will make sure our team gets that scheduled for you. Otherwise, look forward to seeing you all in future webinar episodes that we're doing, and if there's anything my team or I can do to help you, please don't hesitate to ask. Like I said, I'm going to take care of a couple of back-end things. So, Ginger, I'm going to go ahead and hop off the phone line here for just a second. But we're welcome. You guys are welcome to hang tight for just a second if you want to do a little bit of chat on the Q&A.